This is the second mobile application that I've built using artificial intelligence. In this case, I built this fasting tracker app here in Cursor, and I built it using both the Codex, OpenAI Codex model, and I built it using Claude Code. And one of the cool things about this app is that I literally built this app in about half the time that it took me to build Summarize, my first app that basically converts long-form YouTube videos into 2-minute summaries. Now, this app does not have user login and authentication, so that definitely took a lot of time off building it, but still it's a pretty cool app. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and go through the onboarding and go through the main screens of this app. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you how I'm actually building my own backend analytics system. And I'm also going to show you my actual new design process working between UX Pilot and Claude to actually go ahead and achieve much cleaner designs than I did in my first app. So that being said, so again, this is a fasting tracker app. It's not going to be called Fasty. I just have the name here as a placeholder. But again, the main thing this app is that it's going to help users better track their fasting. So if I go ahead and click on Get Started here, as you can see, it's going to ask the user exactly what their goal is with fasting. I'm just going to go ahead and select on Gain Mental Clarity. When I hit Continue, the user is going to be able to select exactly kind of, what their fasting duration or their fasting time that they want to log in. So in this case, some people might fast for 16 hours, 18 hours. If you want to input your own kind of custom fast duration, maybe you only want to fast for 10 hours or 8 hours or something like that. You can do that here, but I'm just going to go ahead and select 16:8. And then from here, users can select if they want to go ahead and get started now or if they want to start later on when they're ready. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it on Get Started Now and continue. And then that basically finished up the onboarding. So as you see here, it says your 16:8 fast is in progress, and it actually lets the user know when their fast is going to end. And when they continue to the main kind of dashboard of the app, this is what they're going to get. Obviously, it's going to be everything here except for this little dev tool menu here. But I'm just going to go ahead and just end this real quick and just kind of show you what happens when a fast is completed. So actually in the empty state, right, so I have a history page. There's also this preset page. But in the case where a user went ahead and they completed a fast, it's going to go ahead and insert this little flame icon for the day that they fasted. And when they go to history, they can actually see what they did. So in this case, it's 16:8, and I have here peak fat burn, and I actually have different kind of little update things here. So depending on the fast duration, right, maybe one fast is better for fat burn, maybe one fast is actually better for something else. And I'm definitely going to go ahead and just raise that fact here to the user. And again, users can select different presets here. And they can also select the different presets here as well on the home page, so they can go ahead and select which fasting plan they want to go with. And just kind of add a little bit more touch up to the UI, I also have this kind of sliding fasting facts little section here underneath the fasting timer, right, just to kind of improve the look and feel of the whole app. All right, so now that you've seen the app and what it does, one of the things that I really like about this app that I'm doing is that I'm actually building my own backend analytics engine. So instead of using something off the shelf like Posthog, I'm actually building my own kind of fasting analytics system here. In this case, I'm actually using Postgres, and I actually have a fast API backend where the mobile app is actually going to call my backend endpoint, and it's going to go ahead and just surface some data over to me so that I can actually understand what's happening in the app. And one of the reasons I actually want to build my own, besides in my opinion, just having something super simple, is that I actually want to give Claude or a Claude agent access to this database so that I can always just ask Claude what's going on with my users. I can have it kind of build me or write me SQL queries so I can actually build graphs around user retention, onboarding, and what users are selecting. It's pretty much like having a full-time business intelligence analyst working for you as a solo builder. So that's super cool. So as you see here in this case, right, the user that I have is now in post onboarding, but when the user was onboarding, this would have been onboarding. It had here what the user selected. There's an initial fast duration that should populate here. In this case, it did not. So again, I'm still working on this app, so it will populate here. It also has here when this user was created and when the field was last updated. If I come on here over to events and I just reload this, you can actually see here, right, in my case, the user that we just made on that iPhone, you can actually see what the user just did. So in this case, right, the user completed onboarding. The user selected their goal. So again, mental clarity was the goal that we selected. In this case, we selected to start our fast now, and then we also selected to do the 16-hour fast. So I'm actually bringing all the information over here because, again, I'm actually going to have Claude connected to this database so that Claude is always looking at this database. It's going to see what users are selecting. And from the standpoint of really a product manager, this is the kind of data that you want to surface, because this is what's going to help you drive decisions to actually improve the product and evolve it over time. So that's just a quick look at the backend analytics engine. And again, this is just kind of look on the app. Now, one of the things that I'm really happy about with this app was really how far I've come with design. And I'm actually going to talk about that right now. So I go over into UX Pilot. You can actually see here that these are the screens that I made. So in this case, this here was just kind of the concept for onboarding. And as you see here, right, I had 9 versions for this page, 14 versions for this page. So there was definitely a lot here to actually evolve these pages. And then same here going on to the main pages here, right? I have 8 versions for this one, 9 for this one. So it definitely took a lot of back and forth with UX Pilot, spending a lot of time on these pages, because even from the standpoint, again, from a product manager, what the user sees is very, very important. So you definitely want to make sure that it's dialed in. Okay, so one of the ways that I've actually recently improved the way that I actually design apps is actually by using Claude and kind of working back and forth between UX Pilot and Claude. So for example, let's say I took this intro screen, right? I can come here to the source code and I just went ahead and I just copied this source code. If I come back over here to Claude, as you see here in my projects, I have this app UX assistant project. And what's pretty cool is that I can just paste in the HTML here, or usually it actually pastes in as a block. I'm not sure why it's doing that, but nonetheless, I can actually paste in the HTML and I can actually write to Claude and I can say, give me a edit prompt to improve this page. And I can just paste in the HTML. Now, usually in Claude, it kind of pastes in as a block. Let me actually try another page. So I click copy on this one, and I come back to Claude and I paste it. As you see here, it actually pasted it in as a HTML document instead of just kind of having all that HTML there. And again, I can have Claude say, hey, prepare me or write me a edit prompt so that I can actually improve the look of this page. And the good thing about giving Claude structured HTML is that Claude has a much better understanding of how the entire page is structured. And of course, I have this big instruction prompt right here, which I will provide as a skill, by the way. Just check the GitHub repo link below for the app UX assistant. Here's a markdown file. So basically the way that I actually iterated on design was that as UX Pilot generated design, all I would do is I'd basically come here, I'd copy the HTML, I'd paste it in here, and I'd basically ask Claude, I would say, hey, what improvements would you make to this page? Or if I had ideas, I would actually just explain to Claude my ideas. And then again, Claude would just put it in a really nice format. So I actually tested this actually with just kind of a test design for like a business credit kind of screen. And this is something that Claude gives you. In the case of the prompt that I give to Claude, it actually helps you create a color palette and it gives you this whole entire prompt here. And then again, I pasted in some HTML here. Claude went ahead and suggested some improvements, and then it went ahead and it created this edit prompt. Actually, I had to combine it. So it gave me this big edit prompt here. And basically all I do is I'll just come here, I'll copy this, I'll come back into UX Pilot, I'll come into edit, I'll select global edit, and I'll just paste in the entire prompt here. And basically doing that enough on every single page is really how I ended up with this mobile app design here, which I really, really like this design, right? It's very clean, it's simple. And the goal for this app was to just really create a very, very simple fasting tracker app that didn't have a bunch of complicated things in it. All right, so anyway, with that being said, that's pretty much it for this video. Just want to showcase the second app that I'm building. My first app, Samurai, I am still in the process of getting that into the App Store. What's holding that up right now is that I'm actually still waiting on Apple's developer review process. I submitted an application to be a developer, to actually create a developer account so that I can actually start publishing apps. And that's still under review, but I know once that's in review, I just have to pay the annual fee. Then I'll actually be able to set up a developer account. And then from there, I have to just go about making all the screenshots and everything and just kind of get it ready to be published onto the store. But before that, I am going to do some testing on some different devices as well. Samurai was built in React Native, but this fasting app that you see here was actually built in Swift. So just kind of opening up the source files here, you can see that all of these are just Swift files. This is not React Native. And one of the driving decisions on why I decided to build this app in Swift instead of React Native is because I knew that the main monetization for this app is probably going to be in-app purchases. And when you look at just the kind of combined in-app purchase spend across both iOS apps and Google apps, you will actually see that iOS apps are actually responsible for about 2/3 of in-app purchases. Building an app on iOS for an app that monetizes through in-app purchases and subscriptions, building it for iOS, you're definitely gonna get a much better return just building an app on iOS. Besides that, you're also gonna get better performance, smaller bundle size, which actually means that for users who are more, I say, aware about really the space that they have on their device, building this app in Swift is gonna result in, again, a smaller bundle size, faster app performance, and that just leads back to overall better user experience for anybody that downloads this app. So that being said, I will definitely kind of keep the whole progress of all this posted. I'm still waiting to get my first app published into the store, and I'll definitely be making a video about that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Do check out the GitHub repo link to go ahead and access all of the skill files so that you can go ahead and design your own apps as well. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next video.